For more analysis on this from Southern Pines in North Carolina is the founder and president of the Rapidan Energy Group, Bob McNally. Bob, good to have you on the show. I was just talking with our correspondent, Andy. President Biden, he was initially reluctant to ban U.S. imports of, or Russian imports of gas into the country over concerns that it would sort of constrain the global supply of energy. In return, U.S. consumers would pay the price. What do you think changed his mind?
Well, there's an expression in Washington, D.C., if you don't have the votes, you deal or you die. And what changed his mind, well, nothing did. He still thinks it's a mistake. Andy was very correct. But the votes in Congress, there is such popular and political outrage at the violence that's being perpetrated against the Ukrainian people that you had a bipartisan group of Democrats and Republicans come together and say to the president, look, you do it or we will. Matter of fact, I think Congress is going to do it anyway. So the president lost. He's losing control of policy on the Hill. He'd prefer not to do it because it's creating this perception that more Russian oil could be embargoed or sanctioned. And that's what's driving crude oil prices up so sharply.
Tell me this, Bob. I mean, the U.S. really doesn't import a lot of Russian oil. So I think there is a bit of sort of symbolism here with the move. But the situation is a bit trickier with the European Union, isn't it?
It sure is. We import just a trickle, but 60% of Russia's crude oil exports go to Europe, and about half of their refined product exports, especially diesel and heating fuel, a lot of which goes to Germany. So that's why you saw Germany say, no way are we going to sanction this oil or this gas. We can't replace it in the short run. Only the UK, which imports about 1.5 million barrels a day, said they will phase it out over time. So very different vulnerability over there.
If the scope of the sanctions widen to include sort of all Russian energy exports, I mean, wouldn't this increase the risk of a global recession? I mean, an economic contraction?
I think it would guarantee one. Russia is the world's largest oil exporter if you think about its crude and its petroleum products, before even talking about natural gas. But I think that kind of a supply shock, and at best, we could offset maybe 3-4 million barrels a day of it between OPEC plus producers with spare capacity and the Iran nuclear deal that you mentioned. But at best, a half of that. So we would be short oil. We'd have to destroy that with demand getting hammered. That would require economic downturn, I'm afraid.
Bob, finally, give me your outlook on the markets.
I think we're going to continue rising till at least $150 crude oil. That's where we assume significant macroeconomic damage starts to take place and demand will start to crater. When that happens, the bottom will fall out of the price of oil. Booms usually lead to busts. So we think we have about another $25 at least to go higher before it stops.
And in terms of GDP?
We haven't done a calculation on GDP. I would say it's just not going to be very pretty at all.
Okay. Bob McNally, thank you very much for joining us. I do appreciate the analysis.
You bet. Thank you.